now we're joined by the Deputy Minister of Agriculture from South Africa, Mcebisi Skwatsha. Thank you, sir, for joining us. Can you tell us, as a South African government, what are you hoping to get out of this year's Brazil-Africa Forum?
We are a young democracy, the last to be free. One of the most important things that we are busy doing is to learn from those that came before us. What we have been able to learn from Brazil in particular is that there was a period when they had a very high unemployment rate, where they were poverty stricken, but with their policies they were able to reduce such an instance to zero. Coming from a country with such a high unemployment rate, coming from a country where people are so poor, you will agree with me that's a very good thing to learn. We have in South Africa the National Development Plan, and it has key aspects that we need to fight. Unemployment, and it also has to fight inequality, and it also has to fight poverty. And so coming to an area like Brazil to learn is the right thing to do. You would recall that we are part of the BRICS, and Brazil is part. But most importantly, this is not a forum only for Brazil. Our continent, Brazil-Africa Forum. We think that there's a lot that we need to learn as Africa. I had indicated earlier that it's very important for Africa to be stable, for us to prosper in food production. And lastly, I come from a country where we had skewed land distribution. We're involved in a mass redistribution program so that we can be able to create an equal society. We think that we will never have peace in our country as long as we have a few that have everything and a majority that has nothing. And I think we've been able to follow the prescripts of the law, but for all to agree that things cannot be the same. That's why our land reform program concentrates on making sure that land is redistributed, but also making sure that land is available for those who never had land before. Making sure that land is available for people to be able to have dignified housing. And lastly, to make sure that we use arable land to make sure that agriculture does prosper and we're able to feed our nation in South Africa.
So when you talk to investors about South Africa's agricultural sector, so what are the sentiments that are coming from them?
Look, we had an option when we were negotiating for freedom. We had an option of taking a revenge against those that had oppressed us. Led by Nelson Mandela, we opted for a negotiated process, and we opted for reconciliation in our country. The rest of the world could not believe that after so many years of deprivation, but there we were magnanimous in victory, and were extending a hand of friendship. And so people regarded our situation as a situation where a miracle was created. And so it is no difficulty for us to speak to investors about a possibility of creating a prosperous South Africa. We have had a very challenging 9 years, but we are led by President Cyril Ramaphosa, and his main intention is to revive our economy. We now had an investment conference last year, and we had an investment conference last week. And not less than 300 billion we were able to make out of last week's investment conference. So at the end of the tunnel, the sun is going to be very, very bright.
So now, what would you say to other government, other ministers from other countries? Why should they come to the Brazil-Africa Forum? What would you say to them, those who are not here?
You see, those that are not here are missing out on a golden opportunity of learning from other nations, but also are missing out on the African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And together we can make it.
So, Deputy Minister, how is the South African government promoting the South-to-South cooperation?
You know, we shall never forget the road that we traversed to achieve our liberation. Our liberation was achieved because of a support from the international community, but also because of the continent's support in particular. When days were dark, they were with us. This is why we are part of all these forums. You would recall that we are key in the African Union, we are key in the SADCC, and therefore we are the champions of promoting South-to-South cooperations. And even in regard to areas like Brazil, we think that we can only prosper by not putting ideologies in front, but putting whatever will make it work for our people so that our people can achieve better.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes.